So with one of our partner clients, we're making $10,000 every single day on cold traffic because of these 3 back-end selling systems that I'm about to show you in this video. And just for some proof here, we're at 212K for the month, 22 days in, $265,000 in revenue. And if you're running a cool funnel to cold traffic like we are, or even to warm traffic, you're probably struggling with shit close rates, shit show rates, and closers pulling up to calls with skeptical leads that are colder than a fridge with no context on you, your business, and very little buying intent. And a lot of these closing calls are education calls, and you can't get those one call close piffs as often as you like. Your AOV is low, your close rate is low. And last month with this client in April, we did $166,000 with a 52% show rate and a 30% close rate, which is okay. But since implementing these 3 back-end selling systems, we've gone to 62% show rates, 39% close rate on pure cold traffic without changing anything else about the funnel, the VSL, the offer, the closers. And we've actually increased ad spend, which you would normally see diminishing results with, which has meant that in the first 15 days of May, we did $165,000 at 5x return on ad spend. So without further ado, number 1, the first back-end selling system is a due diligence confirmation page. Your confirmation page, which is essentially where do people get redirected to after they book a call. In the past, you could easily get a very good show rate and a good close rate if you had a solid offer and a very good sales team and a good VSL and good marketing on a cool funnel with a simple video on your confirmation page telling prospects just to, accept the calendar invite, watch some of these case studies, here's a bit of urgency, here's a bit of value, and there you go. But nowadays, especially in the B2C info product market, which is primarily where our agency works with, trust is at an all-time low. Scammy courses are rampant. A lot of people have been burnt before. They've seen a lot of ads. They've seen a lot of programs. And so when someone books a call with you, that doesn't really mean that they're going to show up and buy. Far from it, especially with the lack of trust in the market nowadays. When someone books a call, they go from being in scanner mode, and obviously I've taken this from Jeremy Haynes, into research mode. So you think about it, if I'm just scrolling on Instagram, scrolling ads, and I see something that's interesting, I see a VSL, and I'm like, okay, I'll book a call. I've gone from just scanning Instagram into now, okay, researching this call and this company to see whether it's even worth my time to show up. So instead of letting your prospect just do that research themselves and see, okay, this isn't really for me, or, oh, I just read this thing online, this opportunity isn't as good as I thought it was, you need to help them do that research. And we do that on our confirmation page. And so how we structure all of our confirmation pages, I'm going to walk you through the entire thing here. We start off with a reinforcing headline. Congratulations on booking a call. You've taken the first step. Now follow the next steps to do your due diligence on our company, our offer, our pricing to be more ready for your call. So step 1 is just watching a literal 2-minute confirmation video. Once again, kind of reinforcing what we say here in the headline. Positive reinforcement, well done for booking. Add the event to your calendar. Acknowledging, look, you probably don't trust me, you don't know a lot about me. So the videos on this page are going to help you do all of the research you need on our offer, on our company, all of that stuff to see if it's a fit for you so that we don't waste anybody's time once we get onto the call. So that's that first video, normally around 2 minutes long. Then the second video that we like to put on our confirmation pages are an offer walkthrough document, which is essentially a huge pitch and back-end VSL. And previously in the past, I've seen people have their kind of post-booking videos be heavily kind of selling, and they want to do some sort of pitch on the back end, which is great, but you want to separate this because no one is going to sit through a half-an-hour video here. But a few prospects who are really interested in hearing more about your offer might go through this document that I'll show you. And the video that we do is kind of like a back-end pitch that, number 1, builds urgency, because a lot of offers nowadays, the reason why people don't show up to calls is because either, they've got some sort of hidden objection, they've read something online, or there's just not enough urgency within them to actually justify their decision of booking a call to actually show up. And so with urgency in these Gamma docs, what we love to do is actually build real urgency based on the opportunity. And essentially, like, for example, this offer that I'm speaking about that is doing really well is a YouTube automation offer. And we have researched a ton of data and a ton of marketing angles that we can use in the YouTube automation space to get our prospect to think, oh yeah, this is actually a really good opportunity right now. Number 1 being AI. AI is exploding, AI content, all of that can actually be applied to Facebook YouTube channels and help you scale more rapidly. But also the fact that YouTube does more revenue than Netflix. YouTube is the largest consumer video platform in the world, and it pays out 40 billion a year to other people. And there's no better time than now, because obviously with AI and all of these things, they get layered into this kind of back-end video, which also goes through case studies, value, education on the opportunity, the economics of faceless YouTube, as you see here, the pricing. And the reason why we say pricing here is to get more people to watch it, although we don't actually fully price drop in this document. We give a range, we give kind of examples of the different tiers of offer that we have, but we don't actually go through the exact price, which also increases consumption, which is a really good tip. And we link the document. So essentially it's a Gamma document, Gamma.app, I believe it is. And you can see that for our Amazon wholesale client, once again, we're going through urgency-based stuff on why Amazon wholesale is the right opportunity right now. We're going through average expected client timelines, expected results, alongside case studies, all of that alongside that document. And we get the offer owner to record a video going through it. Really, really important. And this is what is also sent in our pre-call emails, which I'll get into, and also by the sales team, by the phone setters pre-call to get leads to consume. This is the main video we want them to consume. Then we have 3 very specific due diligence looms, and this goes back to the prospect doing research on your company. So we have looms going through Trustpilot, Reddit, third-party reviewed. What happens when the client gets Googled? If I Google client name, scam, or Louis Appert, mentorship, scam, whatever. Is there anybody chatting shit online about us? And is the offer like legit? Because if someone sees a negative review on Trustpilot or Reddit, then they might not show up to the call, and they might show up to the call with much lower intent. So that's what that one is. And it's essentially going through, Trustpilot, all of these things, and basically showing if you do have negative reviews, why. If you're actually running a really shitty offer and you don't give good value to people, then obviously you're going to struggle with this one. But if you're actually running a good coaching business and a good company, an ethical company, if there's one bad review from someone that didn't even join your program, explaining that is really, really, really important. And then number two, once again, if you're running a shitty offer, if you're running an offer that has a huge chargeback rate, you're not going to be able to do this, and you shouldn't really be selling an offer anyway. But is Illume going through the dispute rate of the company, refunds, chargebacks, if you have any? Like this client here only had one, and it was a very, very specific situation where it was a refund. And it wasn't even a chargeback, it was just a refund because the client wasn't in the situation to continue with the program. And this just shows people, okay, I can trust this company. They're not just going to take my money and run. And then we also have a third, kind of more optional Loom of like inside of the community. Depends kind of what offer you're selling, but inside of the program, showing them that it's real, it exists, there are client wins, there's active things like kind of happening right now inside of the program to give people an idea of what it's like inside. And then finally, on the video, we have breakout videos, which I've spoken about a lot. I think a lot of people are using these nowadays, but they are essentially frequently asked question videos that answer the most commonly asked questions and objections a prospect might have that would prevent them from showing up to a call. So for example, in our YouTube automation offer, how much can you realistically expect to make from YouTube? How much time does it take? How much will this cost me? Can I do this without any special skills? And the 4 layers of breakout videos that you want to get kind of your ideas from are from questions prospect have, second layer questions after those questions. So for example, if my question was, how much will this business cost me? The answer might be, okay, a few $100s a month. A second layer question based on that might be, what am I going to be spending that on? So the videos also have to answer those second layer questions, or you have a separate video to answer a second layer question. Obviously handling objections like, I don't have enough time for this, how much is it going to cost me? And then setting expectations. So for example, one expectation setting video could be, what do your first 30 days look like inside of the program? Or who is this a good fit for? Just to make sure that you're actually attracting the right type of people into the offer that you're selling. And then also like, a few other examples are ones of like, we have an offer that has a specific software that kind of comes with the offer, and we want to do a video breaking that down. So obviously the closers had an easier job on the call. They didn't have to basically repeat the pitch. This gets sent to people before the call as one in the breakout video section. And then here's a few other from a remote sales offer that we have. In terms of breakout videos, you shouldn't really just script them with AI and just answer the question. They should be laced with case studies. They should be laced with like, basically turning any sort of objection or question into a reason people should buy, and essentially they're mini VSLs. And if you're wondering where to source content for your breakout videos, number one is sales team like feedback and intelligence from sales calls, from what prospects are actually saying, common questions, common objections that you can answer pre-call. And then obviously as well, YouTube video comments, IG comments, and sometimes program and course content. Like if there's something in your program that needs better explaining pre-call and like closers are kind of tripping up on it, that's always good to answer in a breakout video. Like I say, any frameworks or methodology from the program needs to be explained, the software walkthrough, that's also really good to have as breakout videos. But the number one thing will be sales team intelligence and asking yourself, okay, what questions, what objections, what expectations do we need to set or handle before someone gets on a sales call? So that's our first pillar, a due diligence confirmation page that is optimized at every level. And of course, at the bottom of the confirmation page, we'll have just an infinite number of case studies for people to go through in interviews and all of that stuff. Now, the second pre-call practice, back-end selling practice that we are using is a pre-call sales team process using WhatsApp groups or iMessage groups, depending on if we're in the European market or the US market. Because you could have the best confirmation page in the world, but if your sales team, if you don't have like a very good sales team and they aren't following these best practices, your show rates on cold traffic will still be absolutely cooked. So first of all, speed to lead is a given. Our setters reach out to bookings in minutes, 90% of the time. Last night I was actually at a dinner with Cameron England, and Cameron England is in the final of this Instagram Reel competition against Alex Hormozy of the speed to lead like Olympics. Speed to lead is so important. It's just a funny story. And if your setters aren't calling leads who book a call with you within 5 to 10 minutes, then you are drastically reducing your show rates and you're drastically reducing your close rates. The setter who calls the lead has 2 jobs. Number one, obviously to qualify them, confirm that the lead has the budget, the time, the capacity, and the actual somewhat desire or intrigue to take action, because a bad fit lead who just will never close, getting on a call with a closer, waste the closer's time, just waste everyone's time. And then the second thing is, of course, gathering intel. So every lead on a setting phone call might voice a concern. They will share details about their situation. They might, have some hesitations. And all of that is ammunition for the sales assets that we customize and tailor and send to the lead, the prospect manually, not just, on the confirmation page, okay, we've got everything basically, but we will manually send assets to the lead to pre-handle the objections or educate the prospect on what they're missing in terms of bringing them along the sales process before the sales call. Because on the setting calls, the setter should be taking mental notes or even physical notes on what problem, like what's their biggest pain, what they've tried before, what the prospect might be worried about or nervous about, obviously their current situation, objections, and desired situation. And essentially the whole, we measure our setters across all of our sales team as how far can you bring someone along the stages of awareness. So let's say 0 is someone who is completely unaware of your offer or unaware of the opportunity, unaware of everything. And 10 is okay, credit card in hand, ready to buy. If a lead comes through our funnel at like a 2 on the awareness stage, so pretty unaware, we want our setter to at least bring them to like a 4 or 5 where they're problem aware. And like the best setters in the world will take a lead on a setting or a triage call from like a level 2 in awareness all the way to a level like 6 or 7, no pun intended, in awareness to the point where they're solution aware. And it just makes this, like the closer's job way easier. And how you do that is obviously through what you say and the questions that you ask, but also in the time period from the end of the setting call to the closing call, and in what assets and stuff that you send over, and also using this WhatsApp group chat method. So essentially what we have is in this SOP that we have with all of our sales team is the setter will make a group chat with themselves, the closer, the lead, and also sometimes the offer owner if we have a WhatsApp business account for the offer owner. So it's essentially a 4-way group chat, and we'll do it on WhatsApp normally, but if you're in a US market, iMessage obviously will perform better. And the first message that they will send, and I've shown an example of it here, is, hey Naeem, it was great speaking with you today. And obviously we separate this so it actually looks not copy and pasted, so it looks human. We'll send over the Gamma link, which I mentioned here, this Gamma doc. We'll send over the link, which has the document itself and the video inside of the document. And then obviously your call is going to be an amazing chance to have your questions answered. And we ask the prospect to introduce themselves. And then we also ask the close, and then the setter will also say, I'm sure the closer will be introducing himself when he's free. And then when a prospect goes and introduces themselves in a WhatsApp group, and WhatsApp in Europe especially is very native. Like you speak to your friends on WhatsApp, you speak to your family on WhatsApp. Like you introducing yourself and saying, yes, I'm going to be at the call. If you then no-show on that call, it's almost like you're no-showing on your friends on something you've confirmed that you're going to do over like via like a WhatsApp text, you've spoken to them on the phone, and then we get our closer to send a video, which I'll get into in a second, which is like much more likely for someone to show up after they've gone through all of this process, which is of course why we do it. And then the second message that we will send to prospects is also based on our conversation. I really think it will be useful for you to watch this interview or consume this YouTube video because it's very, like let's say we have a prospect who is 40 years old, is a bit worried about, okay, am I technical enough for this? Well, we have a client interview with a client who's done 30K a month when they had that exact same objection when they were starting, and they were like, this is actually someone who's done this with that same objection you have. I don't normally send like custom things to people, but I really would like you to check this out before the call, because it will give you a good understanding of kind of how this could look for someone who is very similar to you. And if they have a certain objection, if they're very unaware and they need to actually understand the business model more, we have sales assets on YouTube for each of those things, which is really important. And then of course, like I said, our closer will send a video with a video note on WhatsApp, like an actual video of themselves saying the prospect's name, saying, hey, I just got some notes from setter name, really looking forward to our call, blah, blah, blah. And then after that, both the setter and the closers will send manual reminders to the prospect before the call. A setter working on the offer owner's WhatsApp business account can even send evergreen voice notes, can even send the sales assets themselves based on what the other setter tells them to do. And all of this means that our prospects are showing up to calls way more nurtured and at a much higher rate than if we didn't do all of this process. Another really important thing to note is that you have to have these YouTube videos, these value assets, these client interviews prepared to be able to execute this at a high level. So it's really important to build that up over time if you're going to build a sustainable info coaching offer. And then finally, our third backend selling system, which is arguably one of the most important, is an optimized pre-call email flow. And some people will see this and they will say, oh, Louis, like, of course we send our reminder emails from Calendly, but like I say here, most offers I see and I step into and who I consult with will send 2 to 3 reminder emails at best, or maybe 4 or 5 that say, hey, your call is in 72 hours. Hey, just a reminder about your call, check out this client interview. And if you aren't following these best practices here, you're missing out on a very easy way to indoctrinate your leads and make them show up at high rates and close at high rates. So this is literally our email flow for one offer. We send 5 to 6 emails a day. And some people might say, wow, fucking hell, 5 to 6 emails a day, that is way too many. But if a prospect hasn't at least once told your sales team that they're being sent too many emails, then you're not sending enough. So you can keep increasing. Our open rates on these emails are 60%. 60% open rates on these emails. And the reason for that is because they're value dense emails. They're not just reminders. They're not just, hey, watch this YouTube video. Hey, watch this. They are long form, value dense emails that actually are nice to read. And you need to remember that buyers seek information during the buying process. A confused buyer never buys. I think everyone knows that. But when you withhold information and save everything for the sales call, you increase the odds that prospects don't show up, require multiple calls to close, and resist paying in full. So the more value-dense information you can give a prospect in the window between booking a call and the call itself, the better the outcome across every KPI. So value-dense emails, what do these do? They answer all of the questions that would otherwise be answered on the sales call before the call happens, or as many as possible, similar to the breakout videos. And some of our topics on the value-dense emails will be basically the same topics as a breakout video, simply because not everyone who books a call is going to watch all the breakout videos that are relevant for them. Some people will just see the emails. Some people might see both, and that's fine. Also, they remove the objections sitting at the bottom of the prospect's mental iceberg, and I'm going to go through what this is, that cause no-shows or cold leads. Because when I book a call, you might have that one thing in the back of your mind, like, do I actually have enough time for this? And if I get an email handling that entire objection, then that might flip my perspective entirely and actually make me show up to the call. And then also build the 4 pillars of conviction. So trust in you, trust in themselves, trust in the business model. And then, I mean, this isn't, I said there's really only 3 pillars of conviction, to be honest, that you need to solve, but trust in the timing, trust in there are other factors, but those are more so objections. They need to believe in you, trust in themselves, and trust in the business model. And literally, if you guys go and check out the VSL on the bottom of my page, whether you book a call for my agency services where we partner with info offer owners and help them scale, or you want to join my inner circle where you get access to all of my SOPs, a group of like 30 other agency owners and offer owners who are making a shit ton of money with coaching, you will see that when you book a call for either of those, I have some sick pre-call email flows that handle your objections, that get you excited to shop for the call. And that's why on my offer I have like an 80% close rate. I should put the price up. Price is going up. But either way, that aside, something else to remember with these pre-call emails is that the email is the consumable, right? Click-through rates on pre-call emails that we've seen are typically only 2 to 5%. That means 95 to 98% of the people who read your emails will never click a link. And considering we're seeing 60% open rates, people are opening the emails and reading them, but not necessarily clicking on them. So instead of, sending an email that's a few lines long and saying, hey, check out this YouTube video, the email itself must deliver the full value. And yes, you should still CTA to external resources like YouTube videos, like the Gamma document and all of that at the bottom of the email, or even at the top of the email. You should still write a value-dense email that stands alone as a complete piece of value. So what we tend to do, and I think I go into this, is we will find like YouTube content, package that as an email, and then link the YouTube video for the people who want to consume it in video format. And in terms of what the email should actually CTA to, so what should you actually link in the bottom of your emails or at the top or wherever throughout your emails, is supporting long form content. So like long form YouTube videos, kind of like I just said. You can even link breakout videos or embed links to breakout videos to Wistia or wherever. Supporting case studies, client interviews, very, very important. And then the number one thing we like to redirect people to is certain elements of the Gamma document that we have as like that main pre-call asset to get them to consume it if they haven't already consumed it on that post-booking page. And in terms of where do I source content for my emails, once again, sales team, intelligence, and feedback. What questions are coming up in every call? What prevents first call closes? And what makes someone say, I'm in, once they hear it? These are the 3 questions we always are asking our closers on team meetings so that we can improve our pre-call process and help them essentially get better leads on the calendar and close more deals. Number 2, YouTube video transcripts, like I said, essentially turning a client interview or even a value-based video into a long email with a link to then watch that video afterwards. Any program or course content value from there that answers specific questions or gives value on a certain topic, great to have in emails. And then any sort of visual proofs. So like one of the huge emails actually that we one of the really high performing emails that we're getting really good feedback on for this offer is an email essentially going over all of the income streams that you can have with YouTube. And there are a lot more than you think. And we go deep. We even talk about exiting channels and talk about these high level stuff and are showing proof of our offer, the offer owner himself that we're working with and his channels and then client channels. And like, it's a really value dense email, but we're getting literally prospects say, I read this email on a call and it was really interesting. When you're writing these emails as well, make sure that every email makes a specific claim and every email that makes a claim, has a corresponding image ready to embed inside of the email. So this just goes back to the principle of like show, don't tell. Never just tell. Always try and show as much as possible. It's the same in the WhatsApp process. It's the same on the post-booking page. Show, don't tell. And I think that can kind of summarize the entire pre-call process. We're trying to show as much as possible rather than just telling. Email buckets. So you want to kind of separate your emails. So let's say you're sending 5 emails a day for kind of 3 days for all of the prospects. You want to kind of evenly separate it out into these 3, which are why people don't buy. So basically objection handling, answering questions about why people don't buy. Bucket B, talking about why people do buy, or why this is such a great opportunity. So talking about the math behind the business model if you're selling BizOp, talking about different income streams, talking about how the coaching works, talking about the value of the coaching, all of that sort of things. And then bucket C, which is why people who bought did buy. And this is kind of what we do intertwined into the case studies. And how we set this up is essentially we send most of our emails through our CRM. So whether that be Close or GHL, we will send these emails in like a flow where as soon as someone books, they just get emails every few hours, like every 2 to 3 hours before until they get tagged as like an outcome in CRM, basically until the call happens. And then from Calendly side, we will send emails from basically the closer name, because when you send a pre-call email from Calendly, it will come up as like closer name in the inbox. And these are where we kind of go heavy on the case studies. We introduce, hey, I'm closer name. This is actually someone who attended like a strategy session in the past, who onboarded into the program and did really well. And that is kind of where we go for the emails, more so on like why people who did buy, case studies, showing like, okay, this person had this objection, they actually got started, and this is actually what happened and what they're doing now. Once again, showing, not telling, with like image proof and all of that where possible. So that's backend selling system number 3. And then the final backend selling system, which is a bonus, because I only said 3 in this video, but the bonus is a Hammer Them remarketing ad campaign. So every single person, this is you set up in Ads Manager. I'm going to briefly cover it. I might make a full video on it in the future, but if you want more details on this, you should probably check out Jeremy Haynes' YouTube channel as he kind of invented this strategy. But every single lead who hits your confirmation page should get added automatically into a custom Facebook audience, or you literally just have an audience of people who hit the page and they get retargeted and hammered essentially with short form and long form content, where you set up a campaign with a 3-second exclusion to each piece of content so that people don't see the same video twice. And you have like 30 to 50 pieces of short form content, reels. Even we like to put the breakout videos as hammer the videos for our clients. And the goal with this is to put yourself everywhere in front of the lead, whether they like it or not. When they open their social media apps, they're seeing you because you're specifically remarketing and advertising straight towards them. And it's a very small group of people, so that they kind of have the organic sales process replicated even on cold traffic, which once again leads to higher show rates. And the content, like with the 30 to 50 pieces of content that you want to put into, kind of should be similar to what you speak about in your breakout videos, as in your hammer them campaign. So answering questions, answering second layer questions, answering objections, and setting expectations. And also value-based videos that do all of this are really good. So even your top performing reels that do well organically, they can be good to be put into hammer them content. And yeah, so those are our 3 backend selling systems that have led to, like I said, we are at $212,000 this month. And if you've seen this and you're a coach, you want to partner with us and want us to implement all this for you, get you to 200, 300K a month and beyond as well with paid traffic and done for you sales systems, done for you marketing, all of that. There's a link in the description for you. If you're interested in joining the inner circle and want basically every single SOP consulting with me directly and my C-suite agency team, we want to work with you one-on-one or in a group setting, and you want to start an agency business like this, or you want to scale your own agency, or you want to just scale your own offer and you're a coach who doesn't want done for you, then there's a link and a VSL in the description for that too. So yeah, thank you for watching.